Blake Ford and I have been married for 5 years. He wanted me to make room for his Bella, he said.
You can't just occupy this position forever.
I pointed to the lonely papers on the nightstand. I signed them a long time ago, it's just that you never came back. Blake Ford and I had no romantic feelings for each other. This marriage was a mutual exploitation from the very beginning. To put it nicely, each side got what they wanted. Perhaps this is the ticket into the world of modern-day CEOs. 9 out of 10 CEOs have an unforgettable first love, and 8 out of those 9 marry someone else because of that love. Blake Ford was no exception, and I was the one chosen to play the role of the substitute. I didn't love Blake Ford, at least not when we got married, and not when we divorced. 5 years ago, I had just graduated from university, carrying an excellent portfolio and running around everywhere for interviews, but I was rejected everywhere. The reason was always the same. You are very talented, but the pressure in our company is quite high. We fear a girl couldn't handle it. The day Blake Ford found me, I had just been politely rejected by the last company. From the preliminary round to the nth interview round, I overcame obstacles and defeated all opponents, but in the end, they still chose the male candidate I had eliminated in the final round. I didn't resent that person, but I was angry at the company's method. If they didn't intend to hire me from the start, why make me run the long haul with them and miss out on other opportunities? Did they see me as unpaid labor, a free trial stone to test their gold? Anger rose in my heart. I tore up my portfolio and the CV I had taken back from the interviewer and threw it into the trash can. A gust of wind blew, scattering the pieces of paper. All the frustration accumulated over the past few days was ignited by this small incident. I couldn't help but blurt out a curse. Blake Ford appeared right at that moment, covered in paper scraps. He thought I was scolding him and stood there staring at me. I guessed he hesitated a bit back then. After all, except for a face somewhat similar, I was nothing like his gentle and lovely Bella. He said,
I need to find someone to marry. Are you interested in considering it?
He rambled on and on. Basically, his grandfather wanted to find an unmarried grandson for a commercial marriage alliance. This kind of alliance is usually hard to divorce from easily. But he already had Bella in his heart, so he didn't want to, yet he couldn't bear to force her to give up her dreams to come back and marry him. So he decided to use a contract marriage to save the spot for her. My luck had always been bad growing up. I never expected that just because I had a somewhat similar face, something like this would fall on my head like winning the jackpot. I silently picked up each scrap of paper on the ground, my mind already quickly analyzing what benefits this could bring me. Perhaps seeing my silence, he was afraid I would refuse, so he started bidding.
After the divorce, I will give you a house in the city center along with $10 million in cash. If you have any other conditions, just say so.
I used a tissue to wrap the pile of paper scraps into a ball to prevent it from being blown away by the wind again. I need a job.
Done. I'll save the position of sales department director at Ford Corp for you.
Blake Ford said. Sure enough, he had investigated me and knew my profile very well. No, not at Ford Corp. I said. At Ford Corp, even after the contract ends, it will be hard for me to lift my head up. I could never truly rise on my own. As long as it's not Ford Corp, any company is fine. Mr. Ford, you must understand my capabilities clearly. Any company signing me won't lose out, so if you personally intervene, I'm sure they won't refuse to take me. I knew very well that my ability was enough to give me the right to say these words.
Just being a director at another company? That won't be a problem.
He agreed very readily. To him, my request was worth nothing, but to me, it was an extremely important stepping stone, the starting point of everything. Without this job, all my ambitions might forever remain just castles in the sky. It's fine, just having a position is enough. I said. We went through the marriage procedures neatly. From the moment the prenuptial agreement was notarized to the time the information on my ID card changed to married, it took less than 2 hours in total. The next day, a company hired me. The scale wasn't large, but the development potential was very good. I immediately threw myself into work, completely unaware that the marriage between Blake Ford and me had caused a commotion in the Ford family. Of course, I didn't know. I hadn't even saved Blake Ford's contact information. The Ford family couldn't understand why Blake Ford would marry me, someone several levels below them, insignificant and small, perhaps even full of schemes. It wasn't until a month later that I received a call from a strange number. Blake Ford said his family wanted to meet me. The moment they saw me, the eyes of his family members seemed to light up with realization, gloating mixed with sarcasm. So, just a knockoff. Someone who seemed to be Blake Ford's cousin, I don't remember clearly, whispered a sentence like that, and the whole group laughed. Blake Ford looked at me awkwardly. I didn't care in the slightest. Before coming, I had just received the official notice of becoming a permanent employee. I integrated very well, my superiors recognized my professional ability, and right after becoming permanent, a project was assigned to me. I was busy with serious work, no time to play with them. They intended to use me, this little person, as a joke, but I didn't have the free time to participate in that show. Blake Ford's mother demanded I serve tea. I offered it, but she hesitated and wouldn't take it. I understood she wanted to use this occasion to show that she didn't accept me as a daughter-in-law. But what did that have to do with me? I never intended to be her daughter-in-law anyway. The heat from the tea transmitted through the bottom of the cup, burning my fingertips. I decisively placed the cup of tea on the table. Mother Ford's face immediately darkened. No manners. She scolded. Ma'am, manners are for those who are reasonable. I heard you like traditional studies. Haven't you heard the saying, respect others and others will respect you? The Ford family continued to take turns making things difficult for me. I looked at Blake Ford. He didn't say a word. Since he didn't speak up, it meant he was leaving me to fend for myself. I wasn't in a hurry nor panicked. I responded to each person word for word. From beginning to end, I didn't lower myself. I just didn't have as much money as them, but my character and self-esteem were not lacking in the slightest. What gave them the right to think I should bow down before them to be molded like a lump of dough? In short, I won big, they were silenced, and finally disbanded in an unhappy atmosphere. The promised family meal was also canceled. On the way back, Blake Ford drove me, remaining silent for a long time before speaking.
No matter what, they are my elders, you should respect them.
Mr. Ford. I cut him off, raising my hands. Water boils at 100 degrees, and that tea was made with boiling water. And these hands of mine have to type and work tonight, and even tomorrow.
But you should also.
Mr. Ford, according to the agreement, I am just a legal partner helping you stop the marriage alliance, not a real wife. Coaxing your mother to be happy is not within my scope of work. I was a bit annoyed. CEOs really don't understand human language. Blake Ford seemed about to say something else, but I didn't pay attention anymore, too lazy to argue with him, and looked down to open a food delivery app. I like sweets, especially small cakes full of cream. Usually, I'm afraid of gaining weight, so I don't dare eat much, but today was different. Today, I became an official employee. With such happy news, naturally, I had to reward myself. Blake Ford's car stopped at the gate of the apartment complex. My cake had arrived early and was sitting among the items in the security room. I spotted it at a glance. I told him to stop the car and got out to pick up the cake. Mr. Ford, thank you for driving me back. I turned back to say, implying he didn't need to drive inside. But he misunderstood, glanced at the cake box in my hand, assumed I was trying to flatter him, and said softly,
Miss, we are just in a cooperative relationship. You don't need to try so hard like that.
I felt tired. Truly, domineering CEOs can't understand normal speech. Mr. Ford misunderstood. I meant that I have arrived. You can go now. And the cake is something I bought for myself. He was a bit embarrassed, silent for a moment before speaking.
I'll walk you upstairs.
I shook my head. No need for the trouble. It wasn't out of politeness. I lived alone, and to ensure safety, I rarely gave my specific address to strangers. Usually, when ordering food, I volunteered to walk to the security room to get it. Although with Blake Ford's power, he could easily trace where I lived, surely he wasn't idle enough to do that. He insisted for a while, seeing I wouldn't change my mind. He finally turned the car around and left. I breathed a sigh of relief, walking back with light steps. Actually, today wasn't a bad day. The cream in the cake was even more delicious than before. After becoming a permanent employee, my work became increasingly busy, sometimes so busy my feet didn't touch the ground. Once, I worked overtime all night, my hair messy like a bird's nest, huge dark circles under my eyes looking terrifying. Just as I got to the apartment gate, I was suddenly surrounded by a group of reporters. They called me Mrs. Ford, raised their cameras and snapped continuously, flashes blinding, capturing my most haggard appearance. The flashing lights made me dizzy. I hurried away. The security guard at my complex was just an old man about 60 or 70 years old, almost useless, so I had to use all my strength to run and block the reporters following me outside the door. The internet is truly a wonderful thing. After I calmed down, it only took me 15 minutes to find out the whole story. It turned out that during an interview, when the MC deliberately asked tricky questions about his love life, Blake Ford raised his hand, waving a wedding ring he found somewhere that clearly didn't fit, and calmly said,
Don't ask about these things. My wife won't be happy.
He used me as a shield. The reporters acted extremely fast. In a short time, they traced the route he took me home, found my place, and smashed my peaceful, busy life into a chaotic mess. I had never faced such a situation and momentarily didn't know how to react. While I was dazed, a strange phone number kept calling incessantly. I picked up. On the other end was Blake Ford. Before I could question him about why he used me as a human shield, he questioned me first.
Why didn't you tidy up a bit before going out?
I didn't react in time and asked back. Excuse me? Immediately after, Mother Ford's shrill scolding rang out from the phone. Mother Ford, did you do it on purpose? Knowing full well you aren't accepted by the Ford family, you pretend to be miserable in front of the media, wanting to use public opinion to force the Ford family to acknowledge your status? I scrolled quickly on my tablet. Sure enough, I saw keywords like haggard Mrs. Ford formality marriage, Blake Ford, and Mrs. Ford acting. Clicking on it showed photos of my messy hair and weary face, accompanied by a bunch of seemingly logical analyses. I laughed coldly. Please, you and your son clarify this first. It was your son who arbitrarily revealed my whereabouts, causing a whole heap of trouble. Now the one who should be angry and questioning is me, not you people. That party wasn't an official event anyway. If he hadn't given the green light, how could the reporters pay attention so easily? You can't reason with unreasonable people. I abruptly hung up, not wanting to listen to their rambling anymore. I was still busy with my own affairs. I hadn't eaten anything since last night. The crowd outside was blocking the way. Ordering food was impossible. And I never cooked at home. The kitchen was cold, not even a bit of reserved food. The Ford family was really good at causing trouble. The phone rang again. I picked up in annoyance. It was Blake Ford again. Perhaps to avoid his family, his voice was lowered.
I have a villa in the city center. I rarely stay there. Why don't you move in? It's convenient to avoid the media.
I couldn't believe this excuse about avoiding the media. A bit of sideline news like this was nothing. It didn't affect the Ford family's money-making, nor did it make the stocks drop. Sure enough, seeing my silence and thinking I wouldn't agree, he continued to explain.
My grandfather is suspicious seeing us not living together, and your residence isn't any property under my name. So he's starting to suspect that ours is truly just a marriage of formality. I need you to help me dispel his suspicions.
This reason sounded more plausible. So what about the media? Do you intend not to clarify our relationship, Mr. Ford?
If my grandfather knows we are just in a contract marriage, he will definitely force me to divorce to remarry for an alliance. To make him believe, we can't clarify right now. The security system over there is very good. The media won't be able to disturb your life.
He continued. I agree. I said. While talking, I had quickly weighed the pros and cons. With the status of the Ford family, the title of Mrs. Ford would bring a lot of advantages to my career, possibly even helping me reach heights I couldn't reach on my own. Since I was used as a shield, I might as well utilize the title of Mrs. Ford and the Ford family's prestige. A shortcut was laid out in front of me. I had no reason not to take it. Blake Ford kept his word. Even when I moved into the villa, I rarely saw his face. Even if he came back, the two of us were like well water and river water, never mixing. I worked overtime editing contracts, and he worked overtime to have sentimental chats with Bella. Every time the two of them video called, it was a scene of tears welling up, looking like a pair of star-crossed lovers. I couldn't understand. Clearly, the two were matched in social status. If they loved each other that much, why not just get married? Does getting married mean you can't pursue your ideals anymore? Maybe this is a trend in the CEO world? Who knows? Anyway, I didn't have time to guess at those messy things because I was promoted again. Thanks to the Mrs. Ford label, very few people dared to offend me. Because of that, I avoided many unwritten rules in the industry. Also thanks to the Ford family's reputation, I signed several contracts that I had pursued forever without success. Whether they trusted the Ford family's prestige or wanted to curry favor with Blake Ford after signing, they were convinced by my company's product quality and became long-term clients. Later, quite a few companies proactively sought cooperation. Thanks to those cooperative resources, our small company grew stronger day by day. The boss wanted to paint a pie, make empty promises for me, so he shared shares, but unexpectedly, there were real dividends. The boss said it was all my great credit, so he promoted me continuously. My boss also had real ability. The products made a name for themselves. It took only 3 years to turn an unknown small company into a strongly developed one, so that, even without relying on the Ford family, we had enough orders to handle. The veterans in the business world, when meeting us, had to exclaim, "The younger generation is to be feared." By then, I was the sales manager, naturally even busier. Holding shares in hand, I worked even harder running around to sign contracts and expand the market, rarely staying at the main office. My boss became more and more thick-skinned. Before, every time I signed a contract, he praised me to the skies. Now, the phrase he often had on his lips was,
"Anna Yates, you have to try hard. If you sign one more contract, I can change to a new sports car."
The boss's conscience clearly didn't hurt. In the 4th year, I went on a business trip to City B. The negotiation representative on the partner's side was evenly matched with me. We tugged back and forth for days just over the pricing issue, still unable to close the contract. In the midst of the deadlock, Blake Ford called again. I didn't pick up, so he called one after another, forcing a strange number to become familiar right before my eyes. After all, we hadn't divorced yet, and there were still many things to coordinate, so I couldn't block his number. Driven crazy by the ringing, I reluctantly picked up.
"Why aren't you back yet?"
"I'm busy working," I replied. I rarely returned to the villa. It was just that Blake Ford wasn't often there either, so he hadn't noticed. The housekeeper who cooked at the villa had exclaimed many times that it was truly a dream job, didn't need to cook twice a month, but still received a high salary as usual. She wouldn't trade it even to be an emperor.
"I miss you,"
Blake Ford said in a low voice. His voice really had an advantage. It could easily create a feeling full of emotion. I had heard him use this voice to talk to Bella countless times. Only the difference was that now the listener was me, giving me goosebumps. Ridiculous. I abruptly hung up. Recently, Blake Ford had been very strange. Ever since the time I came back and found him lying drunk and unconscious on the living room floor, and out of humanitarianism called an ambulance for him, he started to change. At that time, I only intended to call the ambulance and leave it at that, but the doctor said the patient's condition was unclear and he might need surgery, hoping I would go along. Since we were legally husband and wife, and the title Mrs. Ford had helped me a lot, I agreed. He had drunk until he perforated his stomach. I could have called his family, but I hadn't saved their numbers, nor did I know who was who. Unable to leave him, I reluctantly stayed to watch over him. When Blake Ford woke up, he asked me like a lost soul why I saved him. I silently rolled my eyes. Why else? If I didn't save him, my conscience would be tormented. He thanked me, then listlessly recounted why he drank until his stomach perforated. He said Bella had gotten married. She met a wandering singer abroad, was conquered by his talent, and fell in love. Unwilling to accept it, he called continuously, and Bella, finding it annoying, decisively told him not to bother her anymore. Having gotten whatever he wanted since childhood, Blake Ford had never suffered such a blow. immediately collapsing and borrowing alcohol to drown his sorrows. If I hadn't interfered, maybe he would have died of love by now. I couldn't help but exclaim that the Ford family's foundation was truly solid. Blake Ford played around all day like that, yet Ford Corp still stood firm in the market, unlike my boss who worried every day about the company collapsing, balding halfway before 30. After waking up, Blake Ford contacted his assistant and family himself. I completed my mission and didn't care much about their tragic love story. But since then, Blake Ford seemed to be possessed, becoming extremely weird. Once, he even shyly prepared a candlelight dinner in the villa, gave me a huge bouquet of red roses, and said that after escaping death, he realized the truth, finally recognizing who was truly sincere to him, hoping I would accept his true feelings. I didn't understand but was extremely shocked. Wasn't this action just getting rejected by the old lover and immediately turning to find a replacement? Please, I just did a good deed. Why am I being retributed with a guy like him? Alarm bells rang loudly in my head, and I immediately kept my distance. I apologize, Mr. Ford. I have no feelings for you. I cannot accept these flowers. He revealed a pained look, pretending not to understand my words, forcing a smile.
Don't you like this bouquet? It's okay. Eat dinner first.
I already ate. I hurriedly refused, and after speaking, walked quickly out of the dining room.
Anna.
He called me, his face looking weak, not knowing if unintentionally or intentionally revealing some burns on his hand.
I cooked this dish with my own hands.
But I didn't ask Mr. Ford to do it? If he cooks it himself, do I have to eat it? Who made up that rule? I locked the bedroom door and immediately packed my luggage. I couldn't continue staying in this villa anymore. I had to move as soon as possible. Fortunately, with my current financial ability, renting a safer apartment wasn't difficult. I assigned the task of finding a house to my lifestyle assistant, and while homeless, I filled the gap with a business trip to City B to sign a contract. Who hates money? I was spinning around to make money, yet Blake Ford kept calling incessantly, driving me crazy. At first, I patiently refused, stating clearly I had no romantic interest, but seeing him only immersed in his own world, listening to nothing I said, I didn't want to waste my breath anymore. Determining it wasn't anything important, I kept an emotionless face and hung up straight away. After many rounds of tug-of-war with the partner company, we finally agreed on a price both sides were happy with. After signing the contract, the partner's representative, Tom Barnes, shook my hand and said,
It's rare to meet such a worthy opponent. Let's have a meal together.
I wasn't in a hurry to return, so I nodded in agreement. During the meal, Tom Barnes drank a few glasses of wine and, borrowing the drunkenness, spoke.
Maybe you don't recognize me, but I always felt I should apologize to you, because I took the position that should have belonged to you.
How could I not recognize him? It was Tom Barnes, the person who competed until the final round with me in that interview 5 years ago. That company finally rejected me and chose him. How could I forget such an unforgettable event? It's just that I hadn't held a grudge for a long time. I smiled. I recognized you early on. Tom Barnes opened his eyes wide in surprise. I said, the result of that interview years ago wasn't decided by you. That company rejected me just because of gender, denying my work ability. It was their loss. However, their judgment of people wasn't bad. You are a respectable opponent. I smiled at Tom Barnes. Tom Barnes also smiled.
Let's raise a glass then. Consider the past forgotten.
I also clinked my glass lightly with his, reuniting and laughing it off, resolving the grudge. After eating, Tom Barnes also had to return to City A, so he conveniently drove me to the high-speed train station. On the way, he exclaimed,
I didn't expect you to choose to cooperate with our company. I thought after the treatment back then, you would absolutely not have any dealings with us.
I calmly replied, thinking like that is narrow-minded. Although I sincerely resent your company, in reality, the profit margin when cooperating with you guys is the highest. I also hold a portion of the company's shares. Would I toss money aside for a personal grudge? Tom Barnes burst out laughing. I spoke again. I just didn't expect the negotiator would be you. Truly enemies on a narrow road. I avoided City A but still met you in City B.
The company wanted to expand the market in City B, so I came here. Like you said, who would go against money?
It's a pity I didn't investigate the background carefully. If I had known earlier you carried guilt towards me, I definitely would have demanded another 1% from you. I pretended to be regretful. Tom Barnes laughed and replied,
Looks like I should be glad the contract is already signed. Black ink on white paper. Now whatever you say is too late.
In the afternoon, there was only one high-speed train returning to City A. Although Tom Barnes and I didn't sit in the same carriage, we met again when exiting the station. Out of politeness, Tom Barnes offered to help me pull my luggage. Looking at his huge bags, I hurriedly refused. While we were being polite, Blake Ford suddenly appeared, staring alertly at Tom Barnes.
Anna, who is he?
I just felt my temples throbbing. Mr. Ford, why are you here?
I came to pick you up to go home.
Blake Ford said and handed me the bouquet of roses in his hand. I didn't take it. I have said very clearly, we are just in a cooperative relationship, each getting what they want. I have absolutely no feelings for you. If I ever acted in a way that caused Mr. Ford to misunderstand, I hereby correct it and apologize, hoping Mr. Ford won't waste time on me anymore. Blake Ford was still immersed in his world.
Anna, who is he exactly? Is it because of him that you won't accept me?
The station was crowded with passers-by. Quite a few people saw the strange situation and stopped to watch. I felt a headache and had to explain. Just a business partner, nothing more. Blake Ford finally shut his mouth, revealing a look of joy. I didn't want to get tangled with him anymore, pulling my luggage and walking away briskly. As I walked, I called my lifestyle assistant asking where the apartment she rented for me was. Just now Blake Ford said he wanted to pick me up to go home, giving me a bad feeling. Sure enough, the assistant stammered for a while then confessed. Assistant Mr. Ford said you two just had a little argument. Now you've made up, so there's no need to rent a house. I thought it was normal husband and wife bickering. If you made up, then no need to rent. I choked, my head hurting like it was splitting. After calming my emotions, I told her, I hope you understand clearly that the person paying your salary is me. Your job is to solve problems for me, not decide for me. If there is a next time, you don't need to come to work. I paid a year's salary and hung up. I stood by the road booking a hotel. Blake Ford chased after me again.
Anna, don't make a scene anymore. You have nowhere to go anyway. Why not come home? I know before it was my fault, getting tangled with my ex in front of you and hurting you. But from now on I will definitely cherish you, always think of you, and treat you well wholeheartedly. In the future, you will be the legitimate Mrs. Ford. You can stay home with peace of mind. No need to run around making money anymore. We'll have 2 more children, a family of 4.
I shuddered. Wonderful indeed. So his so-called, was destroying my job and locking me at home to bear children for him. This kind of love, I really dared not accept. To avoid long nights and nightmares, this marriage definitely had to end as soon as possible. Even if I had to wander the streets, I couldn't go back with him. I timed it right to catch a taxi and left without looking back. That very day, I authorized a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. Heaven granted a wonderful opportunity. 3 months later, the Ford family's alliance partner finally held a wedding. The Ford family chose a Pho Bac option, a cousin from a branch family. To show importance, the wedding was prepared for 3 years, grander than ever. The Ford family sent me an invitation. Blake Ford's mother brought it herself. She no longer had the sharp demeanor as before, even carrying a bit of pleading. Mother Ford, since he couldn't see you, the boy won't eat or drink, he won't listen to anyone, now he's nothing but skin and bones. Consider it out of pity for him, come and advise him a sentence. Mother Ford held my hand and said, tears almost falling. I understood a mother's heart but still refused. I am a business person, not a saint doing charity. I act based on benefits, not distributing kindness excessively. Back then, I just helped call an ambulance and he clung to me endlessly. I didn't want to bring more trouble upon myself. Having time to comfort a fragile rich kid over heartbreak, I'd rather donate to a charity fund. Watching the grand Ford family wedding live streamed online, I let out a long sigh of relief. Blake Ford no longer had to worry about the marriage alliance. Our contract could finally officially end. I asked the housekeeper to place the divorce agreement on Blake Ford's nightstand. But the divorce agreement I sent long ago had no response, like a stone thrown into the sea. Months later, I contacted the housekeeper. She said that ever since Blake Ford's cousin completed the alliance, he started getting busy with work and hadn't returned to the villa for a long time. That cousin truly had a talent for business. His business was increasingly prosperous, and now with a solid marriage backing, his prestige was even more brilliant. Blake Ford, originally immersed in painful romance, finally felt the pressure and started worrying about business. Just then, my boss came to me, saying he had earned enough money to live lavishly with his wife for a lifetime, preparing to sell the company to focus on enjoying the rest of his life, asking if I was interested in buying back shares to become the boss myself. Too much news made me momentarily not understand what he was saying. What do you mean? Does the company have a financial hole? Are you planning to run away and make me the scapegoat for debt?
What nonsense are you saying? I always do business with integrity and obey the law. How could I do such a thing?
The boss glared at me. He signaled me to listen to everything and started boasting smugly.
You probably haven't met my wife, right? She studied painting to research different art schools and went abroad 6 years ago.
The plot was so familiar, I looked at him with pity. Giving up love for ideals, I was too familiar with this script. Seeing my expression, the boss guessed my thoughts and immediately got excited.
I am completely different from that Ford guy. Before my wife left, I shamelessly proposed to her. I'm not stupid. If I love, I must marry immediately.
I admire you, boss. Being so sober, you might be laughed at by other CEOs.
You probably don't know. While you guys were working hard to make money for me to change cars, I was here calling and chatting with my wife, passionately inseparable.
Indeed, no boss has a conscience. Maybe because my face accused him too clearly, the boss's meager conscience arose. He cleared his throat and returned to the main topic, speaking seriously.
Haven't you thought about taking over? I can give you a friendly price.
To be honest, I was truly swayed. Working for several years, my ambition grew larger. A manager position couldn't satisfy me. Directly managing a company already in gear was challenging, but surely more effective. I quickly calculated my assets. The boss thought I was hesitating and played the emotional card.
The company has been operating for 6 years now. At first, it was small. People came and went. You joined midway, but were the most persistent. This company is my heart's blood. Although I withdraw, I still hope it grows strong. Giving it to an outsider, I'm not reassured. I only trust you. You watched it grow. The company's first big order was thanks to you. Can you bear to see it wither?
He spoke so sincerely I couldn't bear to confess that initially. I didn't job hop because no big company would hire me. Later, people did invite me, but I couldn't bear to leave. Clearly, he really wants to withdraw. Why not hire a professional CEO? I wondered.
Even if just a little involved, I won't be able to help worrying. Money can never be fully earned. My wife and I are currently the best versions of ourselves. Why make ourselves suffer more? With my wife's reputation, if we spend all our assets before dying, she just needs to sell one painting to live.
His eyes sparkled. It was eagerness towards a new life. That was an ideal I couldn't understand. Is there really anything in this world happier than making money?
Is it because you were only in charge of sales before that you don't dare to accept?
The boss asked me. Of course not. What I don't know, I will learn. Being afraid of difficulty has never been my style. How much virtue did I have to accumulate for heaven to grant me such a big pie? I accept. I immediately decided. I gathered all my assets, even mortgaging the riverside apartment I just bought and renovated, and it was only enough to buy half of the boss's shares. The boss lent me the other half, telling me to pay both principal and interest within 3 years. Adding the boss's shares to what I already had, I officially became the largest shareholder. The boss, oh no, now the former boss, held the debt papers smiling with squinted eyes. I suspected he had plotted this beforehand. Said he earned enough money, yet on my first day in office I carried a huge debt, didn't even have a house to live in, worse than before. Felt like a real loss. Pressure weighed on me. Even as an outsider to management, I had to learn day and night how to operate a business while reassuring the company's morale, almost eating and sleeping at the workplace. Luckily, after a year of chaos, I finally won over the veteran team, the company started making a profit, and I paid the first installment to the former boss. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling a long breath. Just then, a strange number appeared. I was stunned for a few seconds, then suddenly remembered that I had been so busy the past year I forgot about the divorce. I picked up. Sure enough, it was Blake Ford's voice.
Anna Yates, let's talk.
Thinking about handling the divorce procedures, I agreed. The meeting place was the villa where we used to live together. Before entering, I met Tom Barnes taking a walk, so I greeted him. Tom Barnes was a bit surprised.
General Manager Yates, why are you here? I've never met you here before. Did you just move in?
I laughed bitterly inside. Is this a house I can afford? I am currently a debtor. I came to talk about divorce with my ex-husband. I pointed towards Blake Ford's villa. Tom Barnes's face immediately became serious.
Why not choose a public place? People are unpredictable. What if he does something illegal?
Seeing he was genuinely worried, I laughed. It's a society ruled by law, it won't come to that. Besides, the housekeeper is inside. This time it wasn't just the two of us. I had investigated beforehand. His Bella had divorced and returned to the country, currently living in his house. Blake Ford looking for me this time was just because he was tired of chasing me and wanted to go back to her. This was truly a good time for me to divorce. A person like Blake Ford might not truly love anyone. He was just addicted to the feeling of being immersed in love imagined by himself. It was the same with me, and the same with Bella. It's just that this long-winded and melodramatic story, I was really reluctant to tell Tom Barnes. If he knew I was once caught up in such a play, how could I keep my elite image at work? Seeing I was determined to go in, Tom Barnes seriously held up his phone.
I will wait outside. If you don't come out in half an hour, I will call the police.
I couldn't bear to refuse. Having someone waiting outside indeed made me feel more reassured. I nodded and entered the villa. Bella was indeed there. She sat close to Blake Ford on the sofa, arm in arm, eyes red as if about to cry. Looking at that face that was 70 or 80% like mine making such an expression, I found it quite interesting. After all, I never had such a weak appearance. Blake Ford saw me looking at her and hugged her tightly, acting protective. He went straight to the point.
Sorry, Anna. I tried to be serious with you but couldn't do it. I realized the person I love most is still her.
This sentence was truly skillful, sounding as if the one clinging on and not letting go was me. I just smirked inwardly, thanking him for not loving me. Seeing I didn't retort, he became even more smug.
She has returned. You can't just keep occupying the position of Mrs. Ford forever.
I sighed. Mr. Ford just came back today, right?
What?
Blake Ford paused. I pointed towards the bedroom. I put the divorce agreement on your nightstand a long time ago. It's just that you never came back, so you didn't see it. His face immediately became unsightly. He let go of Bella and walked quickly into the room. When he came out, he held the agreement already signed by me, his face heavy as lead. The content was simple, just like the prenuptial agreement, except for the house and the $10 million promised initially. Whatever else anyone earned, they kept. My company relied on Ford Corp when starting up, so I didn't lose out. Blake Ford also had no objections, signing his name right in front of me. Neither of us wanted to drag it out. After signing, we prepared to go get the divorce papers. Out the gate, I immediately saw Tom Barnes. He kept looking at his watch and then gluing his eyes to the villa. Seeing me walk out, he clearly breathed a sigh of relief, smiling. I didn't have a car. To save money to pay the former boss, I had sold my car long ago. Hearing I wanted to hitch a ride in Blake Ford's car to the notary office, Tom Barnes, ignoring Blake's dark face, shamelessly climbed into the car too. Blake Ford huffed coldly.
Truly thick-skinned.
Tom Barnes still smiled calmly as if nothing happened.
Mr. Ford flatters me. For business people like me, a thick face is iron armor and copper walls.
Probably used to being a boss, I secretly thought. Goodwill, truly a model employee. The place for divorce procedures wasn't crowded. We only waited a while, and it was done. Parting ways, I don't know which nerve of Blake Ford was triggered, but he suddenly grabbed me, looking pained.
Anna, I was wrong. The person I truly love is you. I only did that to make you angry. Don't go.
I hugged the divorce papers tightly as if I had just escaped a disaster. Luckily, before he went crazy, I had already received the papers. I dodged to the side.
Mr. Ford, can you really not distinguish between loving and not loving?
Blake Ford stood like a lost soul. I ignored him, just about to leave when I realized my phone was missing. Where is my phone? I mumbled. Blake Ford seemed to wake up, speaking proactively.
It's okay. Let me call it for you.
The ringtone rang inside his car. Turns out I left it in the car. He took it out for me, accidentally seeing the screen still lit up.
Unknown number.
He mumbled. I nodded. Unknown number. I took the phone from his hand, softly said goodbye. Behind me, he said something, but I didn't hear clearly. I sold the house received after the divorce, taking the $10 million and the house sale money to pay back the former boss. Took another step closer to paying off the debt. The former boss was busy picnicking with his wife, taking advantage of free time to call and advise me.
You should keep some money for yourself to buy a car. A dignified lady boss without a single car is a bit pathetic.
I refused his kindness. Of course, I had to pay off the debt before I dared to wholeheartedly strive for growth. Finished dealing with the former boss, I called Tom Barnes. Before, he enthusiastically helped me, and I promised to treat him to a meal. While eating, his phone rang continuously. Tom Barnes turned it off in annoyance.
People from the old company. Back then, 60% of the orders were closed by me, yet they still found ways to suppress me. Now that I'm about to jump ship, they turn around to cling on.
You plan to change jobs? Where to?
Haven't thought of it. Anyway, I can't work at the old company anymore.
Tom Barnes shook his head. I was moved. My company is lacking a sales director. How about coming to work together? Tom Barnes was a bit surprised.
Aren't you the manager over there? If I come, where do you plan to go?
I said. I found a new job, which is being the boss. At our company, the old position is now vacant. Tom Barnes was stunned.
Promoted that fiercely. Should I come? Can you pay me?
I remembered my currently empty purse, feeling I couldn't promise a high salary, so I learned from the former boss to paint a pie. I'll share 5% of the shares with you, then you'll be a shareholder too. Tom Barnes, having worked for many years, surely had seen many empty promises like that. He would probably refuse this condition. I felt a bit regretful. Tom Barnes pondered for a while, then smiled, raising his glass.
Then I'll come to serve under General Manager Yates.
I paused, then also smiled and clinked glasses with him. Couldn't ask for more. Extra story. Blake Ford's perspective.
I am Blake Ford. I have someone I love from the bottom of my heart, Bella. She went abroad. My grandfather intended to organize a marriage alliance with a large family, currently choosing a partner among the grandsons. I didn't want the alliance, so I asked Bella if she wanted to marry me. My family and hers were matched in status. If we married, grandfather would definitely happily approve. Bella said she couldn't immediately return to marry me just because of me. If I loved her, I shouldn't use love to bind her. I naturally loved her, so I couldn't accept the alliance. An alliance between two large families has many constraints. Even if we hated each other later, it wouldn't be easy to divorce. To wait for her return, I decided to find someone for a contract marriage, temporarily saving the Mrs. Ford's spot for Bella. I quickly found a suitable person named Anna Yates. Just graduated, currently unemployed, with a face 70 or 80% like Bella's. Most importantly, Anna Yates was just an ordinary person. Even if capable, she was an ordinary person. Humble background was good. Marrying into the Ford family meant she wouldn't have a voice. The initiative in this marriage would definitely lie with me. Initially, I even planned to use some tricks to get her rejected everywhere, so when desperate, she would naturally agree to my offer. Unexpectedly, before I could act, the company she applied to was already a trap. Clearly not intending to hire her, they still let her run through the entire interview process, making her miss all other opportunities. A heaven-sent opportunity, I stepped in at the right time. Using $10 million and a house, I signed the cooperation contract. For ordinary people, the price is always very cheap. Right? She also demanded a job. I agreed, especially choosing a company about to go bankrupt, with no orders for 2 years, looking like it wouldn't survive long. After all, taking the title of Mrs. Ford, she shouldn't be out rolling around working. But I couldn't break my word, so I just chose a company like that randomly. Wait for it to go bankrupt, and she would obediently stay at the Ford house. But Anna Yates, after registering the marriage, had absolutely no consciousness of being Mrs. Ford. She still lived in a rented house, busy every day with that lousy job. I couldn't find her, and when we met again, it was at the Ford family gathering. I had taken over Ford Corp long ago, being the brightest grandson, so grandfather definitely intended for me to enter the alliance. I said I was married. Although dissatisfied, he still agreed to let me bring my wife home for introductions. The whole family knew about Bella and me. Seeing Anna Yates, they immediately understood this was a copy. Unavoidable sarcasm followed. My mother didn't like her, thinking she used beauty to seduce me. When my mother used the excuse of offering tea to make it difficult, I knew perfectly well, but what daughter-in-law doesn't have to endure a mother-in-law? I didn't need to step in to mediate. Unexpectedly, she bluntly placed the teacup on the table, even saying something about, "Respect others and others will respect you," completely giving no face to my mother. My family was naturally annoyed, speaking more and more harshly. She looked at me once. I thought she was asking for help, so I pretended not to see. Let her be scared a bit. It's good for her to learn to respect elders. Unexpectedly, she calmly retorted to each person, silencing the whole family. The party ended in an awkward atmosphere. On the way back, I couldn't help reminding her to respect my family. She didn't care at all, saying we were just a contract marriage, no need to please my family. I was angry, deliberately staying silent to be cold. I thought she understood, hence buying cake to curry favor. I softened a bit, but still reminded her not to act too deep. She hurriedly explained the cake was bought for herself. I didn't expose her, even kindly offering to walk her upstairs. She refused. Unhappy, I turned the car around and left. Later at the press conference, I was asked tough questions, borrowed an assistant's ring to fake being married, immediately attracting the media. That day she didn't let me drive her home, making me annoyed, so when I knew reporters were investigating the identity of Mrs. Ford, I secretly leaked the news of that party. Sure enough, reporters found her place. I didn't expect that with that haggard appearance. She went straight to the front page, losing all of the Ford family's face. I called with my mother to question her. Unexpectedly, she guessed it was my doing, making me lose ground from the start. Worse, grandfather started suspecting this marriage was fake. This couldn't be joked about. Although nominally the general director, the real power holder was grandfather. If exposed, the consequences were unimaginable. I had to beg Anna Yates to help me hide it. Although angry, she still agreed. I guess she had feelings for me. She moved into the villa. I kept my distance so as not to make Bella misunderstand. But she also rarely came back, totally buried in that small company. Living under one roof, I deliberately let her see me being affectionate with Bella to test her, but she didn't even bother to look up. I didn't know if she was pretending or truly didn't care. I observed her more and more. I didn't understand what that tiny company had to make her so passionate. I had misjudged that company. 3 years passed. Not only did it not go bankrupt, but it also grew strong. Many partners praised Anna Yates as a negotiation master. Her boss was also capable. The two combined like old bamboo and new shoots. Even my grandfather asked why not invite her to Ford Corporation. I didn't bother to care. It was just a small company. I didn't have the mind for it. Because Bella said she loved a street artist, telling me not to cling anymore. I felt like I fell into an ice cellar, not believing years of love dissolved into smoke. I hid in drunkenness until my stomach perforated. I thought I would die, but Anna Yates came back, called an ambulance to save me. I woke up seeing sunlight hitting her profile. Turns out this was the person I truly loved. I started pursuing her, sending flowers, giving gifts, cooking. But she refused continuously, didn't eat a single bite. I was most scared when I saw the man helping her carry luggage at the station. I squeezed between them, asked Anna, "Did you reject me because of him?" She replied, "Just a business partner." I was happy she was willing to explain, but then she still refused me. When she found out I contacted her lifestyle assistant to ruin her house rental plan, She was truly angry. I tried to invite her home to live, painting a beautiful future, being Mrs. Ford, staying home to have children. She looked at me even more warily, hurriedly catching a taxi to leave. I knew she would never love me. I lost weight day by day. Even my mother was scared, personally going to beg her to see me, but she still didn't come. She was frighteningly sober, seeing through me at all times. I couldn't be weak anymore. My cousin was increasingly trusted by grandfather. I couldn't lose everything. Otherwise, how would I have the qualification to pursue her? I spent a year regaining my position, but during that time she never contacted me. If I didn't look for her, she would never actively look for me. Just then Bella returned, begging for my forgiveness, saying she wanted to come back to me. I thought maybe I should use her to stimulate Anna Yates, making her realize her true feelings. I brought Bella along, wanting to see her regret. But she said, the divorce agreement was left on the nightstand long ago. I regretted it. If only I hadn't signed back then, hadn't gone to get the divorce papers. Leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I held her back, pouring out my heart. She asked me, can you really not distinguish between loving and not loving? She dropped her phone. I helped find it. The ringtone rang from my car. I took it out, accidentally seeing the screen. Unknown number. It was an unknown number. I mumbled. She nodded. Unknown number. I handed over the phone. She said goodbye and left. I watched her back, whispering, in the end, I was just a stranger in your world. She didn't hear, but I understood. I loved her only after I had lost her. And she, from beginning to end, had never been moved by me, not even once.